Last of Us 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR have been delayed indefinitely due to COVID. On Twitter, they announced this on Twitter. SIE has made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve. Neil Druckmann, the creative director of Last of Us 2, has basically said that the game would have been done. They can't print the copies out. So my question to you guys isn't necessarily about Iron Man VR, and it isn't about Last of Us 2, because they're done now. They're delayed. What has happened? My question to you is, how many games do you think are going to get delayed in the next 6 months because of COVID? That's my question. How far do you think this is going to go?
Yes.
A good guess is, does anyone here not believe Ghost of Tsushima is not going to get delayed at this point as well?
I'm pretty confident it will be delayed.
I
yes.
haven't even been paying attention to it.
That's supposed to be coming out in June, Kyle.
I haven't even been paying attention to it.
You should. It's pretty cool.
My calendar is marked for May 29th, 2020, and
do you think
else.
Xenoblade will get pushed?
I hope not.
Yeah, but do you think it will?
I don't think it will be.
Don't put that bad juju in his head, Ethan.
I'm remaining optimistic.
Because my thing is, I want to remain optimistic. There's nothing I'd love more for Xenoblade to come out then. It's just the whole, if they're having problems manufacturing fucking Blu-ray discs, they're gonna have problems manufacturing Switch cartridges because they're like 10 times more finicky and expensive.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting.
But they can also just release it digital only.
Yeah, I feel like releasing a remaster of an old game would be less of a hit as far as the physical market than The Last of Us not releasing with a physical copy, because that's like a big tentpole game for them.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have another physical cop,y to add to my Xeno collection, but
I mean, I'd like a physical copy for my Xeno Switch collection, because I bought Torna as a physical, so it's like, I want the trilogy now. I want all three of them to sit on the shelf.
It's like, I already have Xenoblade physically on the Wii, and the Switch cartridge isn't gonna top how great the disc was for that game.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, let me paint you a picture. The picture on the disc art is Shulk holding the Monado, and the circle of the Monado is right where the hole of the disc is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it lines up perfectly, and it's the most aesthetically pleasing disc art ever.
It's pretty great.
When the Switch cartridge will never be able to replicate that.
Nice. So there you go. Hopefully nothing else gets delayed.
Hopefully. So what else was in the news? Man.
Let's move on. Let's move on to the actual things. We'll just talk about that. Right, let's talk. I think everyone has something to say on this, whether you fucking like it or not. PlayStation on a random Tuesday decided to announce their new controller for the PS5 called the DualSense.
Oh, we're counting that as news.
Yeah.
Oh man,
why
it
not?
looks like it was made by Aperture Labs.
Right, we'll get onto it. We've reached an exciting milestone with PlayStation 5 as we are starting to ship our new controller, is what they said in a PlayStation blog post, where they shared 2 images of it, and that's about it. They've said what they've already said before, that it has haptics and it has magic triggers that makes you feel like you're playing anime weeb game. You're not just living it. You live in anime weeb game. It's USB-C. Thank fuck.
Nice.
Touchpad's still there, and they changed the share play button to the create button. Very important decision. I always think it's dumb. You've got those people on Twitter that are sitting there going, "This is the worst thing ever. It looks shit." Blah 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 blah. I don't care how I care how it looks, but more importantly, it's how it plays, right? It's how it feels. I'm not going to have a judge of the controller until it feels. But just from the aesthetic point of view, do you like the DualSense? That's the question.
Looks fine to me.
Okay, cool.
It looks like a PlayStation controller.
I mean, it looks alright to me. I'm still partial to the shape of the PS2 and PS3 controllers, but I'll get used to this.
Oh, you see, I couldn't be further away from being partial to PlayStation 2 controller. Like, I don't know, there's something about once you've had a DualShock 4 in your hand and you're like, hey, this fits my hand and the triggers are not garbage and you just sit in there, and then you go back, like when we were playing Crash 2 last night, and you go back to the old DualShock, and the grips like dig into your palm, and they're tiny, and it just feels kind of off. The DualShock 3 especially. I just can't go back to. I'm just like, ugh, it's way too small for me. The old controllers are way too small now, and then they've gone like the opposite direction of this one, where they're like, oh, what if we make it a real chunky guy?
What if it was big?
I mean, it's still not as big as like the original Xbox's controller, so.
Oh, the Duke. Oh,
Yeah,
could you imagine?
I'm not gonna complain too much.
But no, everyone seems to be hating on it. I feel like I'm in the unpopular opinion of. I actually really like how it looks. It's grown on me a lot.
I mean, it looks fine. Just,
there's the opposite photo, which I'd like to. There's the Xbox Series X controller, which is literally the Xbox One controller with a fucking button now, like a share play button on it. I'm like, and it still requires AA batteries, by the way. I'm going to throw that one. I'm like,
Amazing.
Xbox, I want to love you, but your controller,
Do you?
I want to, because they're trying. They're trying right now. They're the ones that.
Well, they're only trying because they have to.
I mean, at this point, yeah, but Sony's doing fuck all. So, you gotta be like, fair play. At least you're giving us shit. They're the ones that instituted crossplay.
Yeah,
they're the ones that make Game Pass.
As harsh as I'm being, they're doing things that I'm appreciating the moves they're
making,
because it'll
Game
make
Pass,
Sony do things.
Releasing their console games on PC and Switch for some of them as well. They're doing a load of consumer friendly they're doing a load of consumer friendly shit right now, and then you look at Sony, and Sony's like, well, we're gonna post a JPEG of our fucking controller on Tuesday night. And, we'll talk about the console at some point on a random Wednesday in the next couple of months, probably. And it's just like, I very much prefer Xbox's way of doing things right now, which is just being honest. Like, just going, hey, here's what we're doing. Like, I think Phil Spencer's been a real, like... I don't even remember who the last head of Xbox was. Does anyone else remember?
I don't remember the dude's name, no.
Yeah, exactly. But Phil Spencer's kind of turned the company around in a way where Phil Spencer will literally just... People can tweet him and he'll be like, yeah, we're working on it or whatever. Or he'll just tweet about Sony games and stuff like that. And he's like, literally, I don't care. What's the point of a console war in terms of community? I really like Phil Spencer. Whereas Sony, on the other hand, seems like it's going back to PlayStation 3 Sony in a way where it's like, oh, what if we charge $800 for this console?
I don't think they're gonna do that.
They won't.
They would know better.
But they are kind of going back to that weird territory of, hey, we're PlayStation, you're gonna buy it, instead of let's work to actually make people want to buy it. So yeah, DualSense is a thing. Let's wait till we've played it.
Well, here's
if it'll get delayed.
Into the other thing that we were talking about a minute ago. Do you think the consoles are gonna get delayed?
I'd like to say that in the DualSense article, if I go all the way to the bottom, they did say that they are still planning on releasing PS5 in holiday 2020.
Interesting.
So for now, they are sticking to it. I think you're gonna end up with two scenarios. You're gonna end up with scenario A, which is the consoles just get delayed, and if they do get delayed, I think they'll be delayed till March. I think they're gonna do a switch where they release it in March.
Nice.
Second option is it's released in 2020, but it's going to be limited supply because of the outbreak and the reduced amount of consoles available.
Yeah.
I think they're going to stick with their guns until they have to. Like, I think they're planning on making money off this now. Like, I think is when you've been planning something for 5 years, it's kind of hard to go, oh, how do we move this? Because it's not just move. I bet you this Last of Us thing has absolutely devastated them.
Probably.
Because that game needed to come out at that point. Because now what are they going to do? Are they going to release it as a cross-play game?
Probably. People will buy it on both of them.
And if they're like, okay, if we're moving Last of Us to a launch game, what are we going to do about, say, Horizon? If Horizon was planned, as that gets pushed back, everything gets moved. It's going to be hard for them. It's going to be interesting to see. But if you were to ask me right now, they both seem to be going at 100 miles an hour towards a fucking wall, but neither Xbox or Sony are refusing to fucking hit the brakes yet.
Yeah.
So we're just going to see if they're going to crash into that wall or not. It's going to be interesting.